Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you're all good. My name is Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing a Sims 4 apartment renovation. So I'm renovating the 131021 Chic Street apartment in Myshuno, and I wanted to do a bachelor apartment with a bit of a studio look to it. So a lot of the living space is open. I did create a platform which is going to be for the bedroom area, and then I did decide to section off a bit of a hallway because I wanted this to have a very modern minimalist look to it, and the front door that come with the studio apartment here just didn't match that vibe. I find this with a lot of the apartments when I'm working in Myshuno. So a lot of the time I'll create a separate hallway space just so it sections that off from the rest of the build. And then I did find it better doing it this way as well, as it kind of separated the bathroom as well and allowed me to put the door into the bathroom in that hallway space as well. So it's not a huge apartment, but I did really like how it turned out. We're gonna add a few more these wooden panel vertical panels, I'm not sure what they're called, from the City Living expansion pack to kind of extend the kitchen area and then feel as though we're separating that off from the rest of the apartment a little bit without adding walls. So I'm placing those down. I do end up having to faff around with them a little bit because they kept wanting to attach on to that hallway wall behind them, so I kept having to delete that wall, perfecting how I wanted them to go, and then re-adding in the walls. And I didn't fully like how they looked with just the one lot, so I went in and added both the vertical and the horizontal panels. And I really liked how it turned out. It kind of added like a privacy screen sort of area, and it just sectioned that space off. I did end up having to stick the bin and a plant in that little area behind the kitchen because there wasn't much space in the kitchen for a bin, but it still worked, if that makes sense. Then I didn't want this build to be overly cluttered, as it just didn't suit the sim I had in mind. I have kind of someone in mind who maybe works in like the doctor's career, and they work in the city, like say the city hospital, and they're very minimalist. They want to come home, they want everything to be clean and tidy. So I didn't add lots of clutter. I did, however, decide to do this as a limited pack build. Now I don't have all of the packs installed anyway, but I do have quite a few, and I find it so easy to end up using loads. So I kind of wanted to challenge myself and just use a few. So of course we're using base game and City Living, but then I did also end up using Eco Lifestyle, Get to Work and Dream Home Decorator, and I feel as though these packs work really well together for that modern luxe look. So once we'd finished the kitchen, I did move on over into the living space. I do think I come in and add a few more bits into the kitchen at some point, but I wanted to move on into the living space. So we added in a sectional L-shaped sofa, which worked really well in this corner space. I still wanted this to feel, I didn't want it to feel too small and cramped, so I still wanted to put things in like a larger sofa, as I did kind of imagine that this sim is a little bit of a Don Lothario and he likes to have the ladies over. So I wanted it to still feel quite welcoming. Then I moved on to kind of build in a bit of an entertainment area. The big large TV worked really well here, and then I added in the cabinets from the Dream Home Decorator pack, so we had some space for some clutter. I kind of imagined that he also likes gaming and music as well, so I wanted to add in some of those things because I always like to make sure there's a few hobbies for my Sims to do. So for this one, like I said, I added in the gaming console, the music speaker thingy, and then I clutter up this side, and then I do think we come back further along and add in a guitar. And I also kind of had in mind that he likes cooking as well, so I kind of made the kitchen, I added a few more clutter items in to make the kitchen look as though someone who enjoys cooking. So things like, I think I added in the pots and pans and a wine rack bottle or something like that. I can't 100% remember. It was a little while ago that I built this, and I've only just got around to editing it. But then I'm just touching up some of the living spaces. I liked these lights, so I decided I would come in and add them under the kitchen counters. So we did that, and then I wanted a lot of this to have predominantly wall lights rather than big ceiling lights. So I kind of added in a lot of wall lights. And then we're going to move on to the bedroom space. I really liked how this sort of still overlooked the living room and kept that studio vibe, but was sectioned off slightly by the platform. And then I positioned the bed this side, so technically you could lay in bed and still see the TV. And then we're just coming in, I added in some bedside tables. I wasn't sure what look to go for with the curtains and blinds here. I liked these ones, but I felt as though they covered up the windows too much, so I switched them out for curtains, which I don't feel as though they fully match the vibe, but I didn't want to leave the windows completely empty. I did also decide to come in and add a desk in, because like I said, I kind of pictured this as a sim who's maybe a doctor working his way up in his career, but maybe he's still doing medical training, so works from home sometimes or studies from home. So I wanted to make sure there was a space for that. And then I do also like to always include a computer as well. I come in and added on some random decorative items over here because I felt as though they just fitted the vibe nicely. I do like the Dream Home Decorator pack for these items, but they're not something I use too regular. Of course, it's always nice to add in things like plants to fill the space. I didn't want it to feel too cluttered, but I do always like to add in plants. I created this little cube section which I thought worked well for shoes because there's not a massive hallway space, and I didn't put a wardrobe in this build either. I only added in the drawers, so I felt as though creating that little nook there for the shoes worked really nicely. And then I'm just going to come in and add in some lighting here. This room I did put ceiling lights in, but I think the rest of them I stuck with wall lights, and I quite liked that look. I added in some light switches here and there, and I kind of imagined that different ones controlled different lights for the space, even though it's one big room. So for example, adding in that light switch above the bed controls those lights that are in the bedroom. I hope that makes sense. I kind of like those little realistic touches. We're then going to move on to the bathroom, and this is quite a small space, so I didn't add in loads. We don't add in a bath, but I did add in the shower, and I went with the same tiling that I'd used as the backsplash in the kitchen because I felt as though it tied it all together quite nicely, and it keeps with that black and white theme that I had going on. It's a little different. I feel as though it looks quite plain, but I felt as though it worked for that sim that I had in mind. I really liked how this sink looked up against the mirrored wall as well, especially once I added in these tiles. It made it look quite dark and luxurious. I have uploaded this onto the Sims 4 gallery, but as I'm sure you're all aware, apartments are a bit funny to add to the gallery, so I did have to delete some walls to get it to work and then lower the platform. So if you do download it off the gallery, you will have to raise up the platform space and add back in the stairs. Lastly, I wanted to fill in this little hallway space. This is where I come in actually and added those wine bottles into the kitchen, and I didn't want to add loads, but I did decide here where I'd said I hadn't added a wardrobe in the living room. I added this in here, but I pictured this more not for your clothes, more for coats and things like that, as a space to hang them, and maybe as a bit of a storage space, as there isn't much other storage throughout the apartment. And then I'm just adding in a few last bits of clutter. Just added in the bookcase here, so there is somewhere for some books to read, and then just finishing off with a few last little bits here and there, and then we're coming towards the end of the build. So I did feel as though this was quite a simple apartment, but I hope you all enjoyed watching. I am very new to uploading Sims videos to YouTube, but I have been building in The Sims for a long time now. So if you do have any requests, I would love it if you pop them in the comments and I will happily give them a go. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I have left some screenshots showing all of the finished results. And that, guys, is the end. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.